Okay, thank you all for coming. This is the command line. I've got to bring up, it's a long title here. Versatile Future-Proof Computing Environment. Prepare to blow your mind. You're going to do it. I can't do it for you. You just have to.
Oh, no, I didn't.
You'll see what I mean in a minute. So I have 2 volunteers today to help me with the initial part. And we have a note taker, James, up front here. So you don't need to worry about that kind of stuff. You want to take notes? I won't stop you. My name's Adam. I've been doing this for a while now. I love presenting here. I'm an author in free software topics. I'm a co-founder of SeaGL. And just want to take a quick minute to thank BLUG and BTC for hosting. Thank you very much, guys. Volunteer-driven. They work very hard every year to give us this awesome conference. Okay, so real quick, there's only 20 slides. I'll just zip through them. I'm just kidding. There's 1 slide. The rest is the command line. Really quick, I'm not going to just read through word for word, but you want to really leverage. To me, the command line is a great place to leverage everybody else. Oh, do I need to talk on the mic? Should I do that? Okay, why not? The command line is a great place to leverage other people's knowledge and hard work and stuff they're sharing with you. They've already shared it. They've paid it forward, as it were, and you can make good use of it. Which I actually don't have in my. That's one for the exercise for the reader is look up @ and see what you think about that. That's just to run a command at a certain time later. Rename is renaming a bunch of files at once. Locate is locating files really quickly. You can find all these same functions in any GUI, no problem. But the command line gives you a particular power that is unique, and it's a tool that you have to add to your toolkit, pretty much. If you want to hang, you gotta make some use of this stuff, right? So I'm going to focus a bit on Bash. I'm going to be using Vim, but I don't go through a lot of Vim plugins or anything. Bash is the default command line of a lot of GNU Linux distributions. Mac OS X, you get Bash by default. You can choose other shells, and I'll demonstrate another shell today. But primarily you'll end up in Bash. So it's kind of like you have to learn VI in order to get out of it on a server sometimes. So. Let's see. So yeah, you're doing your daily work when you're in Bash. You're doing your daily work in a programming language, in a programming environment. So you can make a quick transition from getting your work done, scheduling jobs, looking for files, renaming files, to automating that. And it's very customizable. I don't know where I came up with this analogy, but maybe the tool you needed at a certain day was a shovel mounted on a telescope, and vice versa, and then you tear it off and put on a fish sandwich because you're hungry. And you can just do what you need to do at that time. Get it done.
Great job.
Your old stuff will still work, even if you don't necessarily write it with the future in mind. It'll still be there for you. Hang on to all that old stuff. You refer back to it, and learn from others. Share in the process. So anyway, that to me is pretty mind-blowing. I mean, maybe it seems a little mundane, like, okay, you can reuse it and all that. But it's mind-blowing to have that power out of something so simple and free and rife for sharing. So to kind of illustrate my background feelings about this kind of stuff, I've asked a couple volunteers, Holly and Jeff. Mm-hmm. All right. Thank you guys for volunteering. You guys are very brave coming here today. Okay, so who's read this book, by the way? It's kind of a short essay by Neil Stevenson. If you haven't read it, I totally recommend it. I'm kind of glad that most of you haven't read it because we'll do a quick talk through it right now. So, yes, in the beginning was the command line. Thank you. Okay, so Neil, in this excerpt, and I asked the publisher for permission, so they said it's cool. Neil likens an operating system to car dealerships. The command line in this story is your tank here, so bear with me. With one exception, that is Linux, which is right next door, and which is not a business at all. It's a bunch of RVs, yurts, teepees, and geodesic domes set up in a field and organized by consensus. The people who live there are making tanks. They're not old-fashioned cast-iron Soviet tanks. These are more like the M1 tanks of the U.S. Army, made from space-age materials and jammed with sophisticated technology from one end to the other. But they are better than Army tanks. They've been modified in such a way that they never ever break down and are light and maneuverable enough to use on ordinary streets and use no more fuel than a subcompact car. These tanks are being cranked out on the spot at a terrific pace, and a vast number of them are lined up along the edge of the road with keys in the ignition. Anyone who wants to can simply climb into one and drive it away for free. So you still with me? Nods help? Nods help me? Feedback? Good, that's work. I'm in the room with you. It's awesome. Okay. The command line is your tank. It's a badass tank, right? And it's free. Visual Studio, IntelliJ IDEA, Xcode, these are all perfectly good proprietary tanks you can go and buy. Some partly free, whatever, rent, but they're different systems. This is your free tank. So here's the sales pitch for the tank and the command line. So here we got, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Ready? All right. Save your money, except one of our free tanks. It is invulnerable, can drive across rocks and swamps at 90 miles an hour while getting 100 miles to the gallon.
Prospective station wagon buyer. I know what you say is true, but, I don't know how to maintain a tank.
You don't know how to maintain a station wagon either.
But this dealership has mechanics on staff. If something goes wrong with my station wagon, I can take a day off work, bring it here, and pay them to work on it while I sit in the waiting room for hours listening to elevator music.
But if you accept one of our free tanks, we will send volunteers to your house to fix it for free while you sleep.
Stay away from my house, you freak!
But...
Thank you, Jason. That was good. Okay, that was our first demo.
Oh, now I feel bad. I'm sorry.
You rock. Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so while Jeff finds a seat, I will pull up the demos. So, and if you want to, follow along with your laptop. You should work. Okay. Okay, so, and stop me if I'm doing something, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, right now I just have a GNOME terminal open. This is Ubuntu 14.04, the stable release or something. Yeah, it is the latest stable. Actually, no, they just came out with 16.04. So anyway, this is Ubuntu, Bash shell. I'm running Vim editor here, and I got two tabs open so I can have my demos, my prompts right here because I didn't print it out, and then my actual shell that I'm going to run the demos by hand in here. Is that font big enough for you guys in the back? Okay, good. If it's not, there's plenty of room in front too. So, come on. Okay, so I'll just. Oh, of course, I'm going to break everything right now. There we go. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to run this command that I'll explain later, but it's going to hopefully send me to the right directory with the right files I want to start showing demos of you. So a lot of things already happened, right? There's some extra information displayed on the computer I'm on. There's this funny little, I don't know if you can really see it too well, but it's like 3 stars way up in the upper left. All of this is useful information, believe it or not. It's not just eye candy. It's also that, but it's also useful information. When I jumped into there, I get a list right off the bat. So I didn't type ls, but it's showing me the files in that directory. I'll walk you through all these customizations. And again, all the defaults are generally good enough, but these are things I've added along the years that I always want to happen whenever I'm doing different commands, moving to different directories. I want these extra things to happen as well. So here I'm in a directory called .files, which is also a Git repository. It's cloned into this directory. And there are 6 files in here. And let's see, emotiprompt. Okay, so this is the first demo. Can you guys see the stars up there in the upper left? Okay, so when a command exited with successful status, I get the stars. When something fails, I get that. So again, all useful information. Some of it I just ignore, and then I get used to looking at the stuff, paying attention to stuff when it changes, and something exceptional has happened when there's poop. So readline is what Bash uses. It's a library that gives you extra control over your shell. So it provides some of the interactive aspects. And what I want to demo here is just when you have a command, you can actually, you know what, I'm going to try something out. Ooh. Change it around a little bit. See if screen key works. Okay. Is that helpful to have those on the screen as well, to see the actual keys I'm hitting? Nods or shakes? Okay. Okay, we're going to do that. Hey, thank you. That's good. So here's some jumping around with Alt-B, Alt-F. It's going to hop the cursor around a little bit on the command line. All of these things are pretty useful for just gaining quick access to the right things you need on the command line. Other command, I use, the screen key stops working whenever it wants. Okay, sorry, screen key isn't going to be too helpful, it looks like. Okay, it's gone. I'll just tell you, I'll try and be real explicit about the keys I'm pressing. So Alt-B and Alt-F was the first one. So Control-W is one I use quite a bit as well. That grabs a word into a cut buffer, and then Control-Y will yank it back out. So once you Control-W something into the cut buffer, you can Control-Y to yank it back out multiple times as well if you want. This is all for quick manipulation of the commands you're going to run eventually. So, and I'm just here manipulating the command line. I haven't run the command yet. Hit Enter, and I'm running the command. Again, for hopping around the command line, the home and end keys work fine on my keyboard. They should on yours as well for hopping back and forth. A lot of this is really terminal dependent, so if you do run into problems, you got to go to a manufacturer, as it were. Most of the stuff I've tested in Ubuntu and Bash and the GNU terminal. Most of it's portable, but I was running stuff. Control-R for reverse searching through history. This is just essential. So Control-R starts in reverse search mode. Reverse interactive search is what this stands for. And this is kind of read line that's going to help you jump through your history here. So dot files was something I ran a command with dot files somewhere in it, and so I can Control-R to find that thing. If I ran something else with dot files, I just hit Control-R again, jump back to the other previous one. And good. Give me nods, and I'll just keep progressing. Like, what the fuck? And then I'll explain more, that kind of thing. Okay. So let's jump into another shell. So Bash is one of many. Here's Fish. Who's heard of Fish? Okay, it's kind of fun. It's colorful. Welcome to Fish, the friendly interactive shell. Oh, that's what Fish stands for. Okay, I get it. So, all right, so what Fish does is, part of what you're doing in Bash a lot of the times is completing a command with tab. And what Fish does is a little unique. It's going to show you the command that you would get if you tab complete it. Nice. It's going to list possibilities. It's going to do all kinds of things. It's going to, if you did a command before, it's just going to give you a preview of what it's going to be. Is that showing up okay? Okay. Yeah, so I find it really handy. I still haven't started using it for my daily shell because of the differences with Bash that are too ingrained in my daily work, but it's pretty handy. I like the syntax highlighting. So the syntax highlighting means that echo, the command you're running, is highlighted differently from the arguments to echo. And then these parens here as well are highlighted differently than the subcommand I'm going to run here, date. So it's going to run date first, and then it's going to save that output, and then run echo, and then output the entire thing. Magic. Fish is fun. Yeah, so better tab completion as well. So Bash, who's familiar with tab completion in general? Oh, good. Okay. So Fish's tab completion is kind of sweet. You'll say something like, give me the manual page for, okay, I guess I looked at the Unicode manual page before. Let's see, what PI man pages do you have? And then you get little excerpts as well. They're one-line summaries at the top of the man pages as well. So I think if I did man PIC, I'm going to see at the top of that man page, compile pictures for trough or tech. Indeed. The name of the command, the short, above the synopsis. I don't even know how you call that thing. Short description is shown right in the command line. Web-based config. This is pretty unique for shells. The Fish authors didn't want to put you through the pain of editing config files, so you can actually run this. Let's see if it works here. Yeah, there you go. So customize your prompt. Oh, my mouse. So kind of relevant to this talk. My mouse is not working today, so gives me a great opportunity to try and. Okay, I'm not going to be able to get to the next tab.
Put in links.
Yeah.
Links. Yes, please. Okay, we'll just skip it. So there's a nice web-based config for fish. Okay, back to bash. Control D exits bash. It also exits fish. Now I'm back in bash. Reusing arguments is something I use a lot, and I'm surprised to see that people don't. Maybe I use this constantly. So who's used alt dot in bash? Yes. Okay. Excellent. I love it when you haven't seen something because then it'll show something new. So alt dot will grab the last argument and reuse it. So let's just show you. So vim bash rc. I'm going to edit my bash rc. If my enter key stops working, I'm really screwed. But so far, not the case. So I'm doing some stuff, and then I quit. I'm back in the command line. Now I can go. Okay, so I made some changes. Let's go ahead and walk through this. Okay, so I added a line there, saved the file, and then now I want to pull. I want to do another operation to bash rc. So I hit alt dot, and it pulls it from the last argument from the last command I ran. And if you hit it more times, it's going to grab other last arguments from previous commands. Does that make sense? Okay. So I use this a lot. Who's going to use that? Everybody. Okay, good. Okay, so and you can continue that. So git add, git commit, hit alt dot again, and it's grabbing bash rc from the previous ones. Make sense? Cool. Okay. Another one I use a lot. So did I do git? Okay, I didn't run git commit. So here's what I did. Oh, let's just look at my history. Okay, so last few commands I ran, git add bash rc. So I want to find the last command that matches add, and then substitute add for commit. Oh, it's the previous command, sorry. Okay, so in the previous command, let's try this again. Okay, so substitute anywhere in the previous command, substitute when you find add for commit. And then the command changes from git add bash rc to git commit bash rc. And then I have the choice to run it right now. Should I do? Okay, so did the commit. Okay, let's jump over to globs, which I'm going to kind of skim over because I don't use these at a time that seems a little bit esoteric, which arguably some of bash is esoteric. Let's just go back to that. Okay. So globs are groups of files expanded by the shell for you automatically. So if I want to echo all the names of all the files in this directory, I just say star. If I want only directories, which I don't believe there are any, it's going to give me, so it didn't expand anything, so it actually echoed the string $/. So bash didn't expand it to anything. Echo got that argument as is. But if we go in a directory, personal, yeah. So if we go in here and echo only the files, we'll get files and directories. If we echo only directories, we'll get everything except that make file there. Good? All right? Okay, we're going to start kicking it up a notch, so don't fall asleep just yet. Okay, I'm just going to skip. You care more about globs? I don't see a lot of excitement about globs. We're going to move on. All these notes again. These are all online. You don't have to scribble down any of these examples, links, whatever you want. And if I'm missing a link, just email me or hit me on IRC or whatever, and I'll fill you in. Okay, so watch is pretty sweet. Let's run a few commands and just watch them every 2 seconds. So I'm going to cheat and see if I did this exact one before. So I'm using Control R, reverse search again, and I'm going to watch. Here we go. Okay, watch, showing the differences, and then all this stuff is a script. Uptime, then echo, then free-m, then echo, then df-h. So it runs all those every 2 seconds. and then highlights the differences. Quick way to get a little just reactivity in your console. And any questions on the commands? It's your uptime for the box, free memory. And by the way, the only useful number in this dang thing is 2521. Do you guys know that trick? So I'm not going to dig into that, but on Linux buffers everything it can aggressively. So if you're worried like, oh, I only have 787 megabytes free, not true. You have 2.5 gigabytes to play with. Just put that one in the quiver for later. Okay, next command, rename. We're going to rename a bunch of files at once, which doesn't seem like such magic to all you programmers, I guess, but this was magic to me. Okay, first I'll go back to the directory I was in. It was cd minus. But this is magic to me because try and rename a ton of files at once without programming in any GUI, honestly. So rename -n is pretty sweet because it will do a dry run. It's going to show you what it's going to do and not actually do it. Quick explanation. Rename files ending with RC. When you see RC, change that string to block. $ is an anchor. It's not part of the match. It's not part of the match that will be changed. And then we're only going to do this on files ending in RC. So there's kind of a double check there. I'm going to change the letters RC in every file, but I'm only operating on files ending in RC. You guys are going to miss the good stuff. Okay. Does that make sense? Okay.
Question?
Yes, please.
Actually, two questions. What is cd dash and is rename a bash built-in?
Thank you. Good questions. cd dash is changed to the previous directory, and I believe it's the same as old PWD. Yeah. Okay. And the next thing is rename a built-in? No. Nope. It's a program. Type it gives me the chance to show you type. So type rename, user bin rename, and then on my system I would use dpackage defined, what gives me user bin rename. And I'm going to guess it's core utils. I don't know. Oh, interesting. Maybe that is something set up by the script. There you go. Util Linux. Okay. Any questions? Okay, we're moving on. And then another rename. So we want to rename them for real. We just removed the -n. It's no longer a dry run. And then since I'm also in a Git repository, I can see the difference here. Whoa, that's not the one I wanted. Git status. I can see the difference here is that Git can detect that these files were renamed, and it thinks I want to delete and create new files. But I'll go ahead and rename them back. Okay, never mind. Rename the ones in blah to end in RC. Wherever you see blah, change it to RC for everything ending in blah. And then you'll notice that my Git sigil, postfix, whatever that thing's called, that also showed that there's no modified, there's no new files. Everything's as it is, equal with upstream. That's what that means. No questions? There's got to be some magic you're wondering about. How do you do that one stupid little thing? Yeah.
What's the S type block? Or S, is that just the location of the file?
Where here? Which S?
That one, yes.
This S. That means substitute.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a command to rename uses Perl regular expressions.
Yeah.
Sorry, one question at a time. What?
Same question.
Okay.
Show us your prompt.
Sure. You want to see the prompt? So which part of it are you interested in?
Star percent. How did you get that?
Here. This is a Git bash completion. So the Git authors or one of the contributors gave us something that shows you the current status with every time you reprompt, it's going to show you the current status. And the way to set that up is you install the bash completion for Git, and then you configure it in your prompt. It might be easier for this one just to see my bash RC and study that a little bit, but there's really only a couple lines you have to change. So let me just show you those real quick. Got to find it. Here it is. So this is all the magic required to show that part of my prompt, starting inside the parentheses here. So get PS1 is the function they give you, and then and then this is the format for that thing. So right now mine is showing master equals right here. That make sense? So get PS1, and there's a link to it in my bash RC. That's what you're looking for. Good question. Apparently not. I don't know. That's a
There
good
are
question.
forks of util Linux back in the day, so if you're running something old, you may have a different util Linux.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I just remember I'm supposed to repeat the question. There are forks. I'll repeat the answer in this case. There are forks of util Linux, apparently with different copies of rename. Rename is a small Perl script. I think you could just copy it wholesale. I could send you mine with its license. Anyone else? Okay, we'll keep going. I got some pretty sweet stuff going up, honestly. I know this is kind of like the softball, and then you get the hardball in a minute here. Okay, so dir jump is, I don't know, maybe you've noticed I've been using that a little bit. This thing, how do you do it? How do you live without this thing? So it just keeps an index of everywhere you've been. So every time you change into a directory, I go temp, I go to home, I go to my, just... No, it's not like, so the question was, is this like pop D and push D? No, it's much different. It's called dir jump, and what it does is it maintains a list of everywhere you've been, and then when you J something, it's going to search the index, do a fuzzy match on your index to find the correct directory. So I was in .files, a directory called .files just recently. So when I hit so I typed in JDOT, and then I hit tab, and then it tabs completes that directory where I was at, and then hitting enter jumps into that directory. Yeah.
The minus symbol for old PWD, does that expand for everything? Or is it just
The question is about the minus symbol for old PWD. Does that expand for everything or?
Just CD?
So
You wanted to like
the minus symbol I believe is bash specific. So I think old PWD is probably the more portable.
Well, I meant like you wanted to like remove dash would remove the old directory that you were in?
No, I don't believe so. No, I think that may be specific. Oh, okay. So CD is actually parsing that minus. That makes more sense. Yeah. Okay. Good question. Okay. So J is one of my best friends. This thing is crazy. I use this constantly. I use CD almost never. Actually, wait. Okay. I have a command to prove. I'll get right to you. I have a command to show how often I use this. So let's see if it top 10. Is that what it called? CLI top. Oh yeah. Okay. I'm jumping to a later demo, but I wanted to see if it was true if I use... Okay, it's not true. I use CD over twice as much as J. Or almost twice as much. Okay, well, it feels like I use a lot. So anyway, yes?
Is J an alias that you create to another command, or is that the actual name of the command?
Yeah, I'll show you how to find out. So type J will show that it is a function that does a lot of complex stuff. It's really easy to set up, but I'll just show you the quick thing you're looking for is... alias, sorry, J. It's so hard to find something called J, right? Dir jump, J2. It has a lot of names. People have made a lot of versions of this thing, but this is what you're looking for. GitHub.com Rupa J2 will have the code, and I think I just use it. I think it's just these two commands to throw it in there. Anyway, I'll find out for sure, but it's totally easy to set up, and then it always just works. Is that enough to get you on the right track to using J? Okay.
I just had I don't know about other distributions, but I was looking at the same thing. And on Fedora, we have a version of it called Auto Jump.
Auto Jump, yep.
Yeah.
Auto JMP, maybe.
That's the one I found. No, just Auto Jump.
Auto Jump. Okay. Thanks, Adam.
When you run J,
He was just saying for Fedora, look for Auto Jump.
when you run J, does it increment your CD? Maybe you actually do run J more.
Good question. Yeah, I believe J must be using CD unless it's doing the low level chdir system call. Okay. Well, they cheated. So then I need to make my CLI top 10 script a little smarter. Okay. Anything else? Yeah. Ryan, good to see you, man. Okay.
How does J compare to the Z?
Z. I thought the two were analogous, maybe different versions of the same thing.
The J2 GitHub repo now tells you to go to the Z GitHub.
Again, we're talking about, I don't know if you guys heard about that thing where this one guy broke the internet, 12-line NPM module. This is kind of like that. There's 10 versions of this thing. All of them work. Don't fret. If you like the one I use, J2 is good to go. But yeah, it's probably like, I think there's a Python version, there's a shell version. They all work. They're fine. Just grab one. Try it. Okay, yeah.
What's the difference between a Python version of something and a shell version? It's like the shell faster?
Good question. Thank you. I don't know when I'm talking English or stupid. So what's the difference between a Python version of something and a shell version of something? Is that the question? Okay. So shell is a interactive development environment, and it's also a programming language. Python is somewhat the same, but it's really more solidly in the camp of a programming language. It's not meant to be interactive. There are interactive shells for Python, but the shell is what I'm using right here when I'm typing in commands one by one and seeing their output. It's a read, evaluate, print loop. That's kind of what's accepted, the accepted standard for a shell. Actually, there is a POSIX standard for a shell. So POSIX is a standards body committee from way back when. It's all old neckbeard white dudes for sure, and they came up with this definition for a shell and an operating system, and some people follow it. So does that kind of cover it? Yeah. Shell and Bash are two different programming languages. Shell you can also type in and interact with directly fairly easily. Okay? All right, we'll keep going. Got to get to Hollywood. That's my goal. Yeah, I know, right? It's exciting, just the name. Okay. So, really quickly, we got to get some more basics. So, locate is I think it's pretty ubiquitous on GNU Linux systems. Locate is just a quick way to find files by index. And okay, it's kind of a weak joke, but yeah, locate toilet is a program, and it just finds in the file system quickly every instance of a file or directory with the name toilet in it because it's pre-indexed everything on your hard drive. Questions?
As opposed to find.
Yes, find is searching in real time by looking at the file names. So it's searching. It has to go through your direct. Although it could use caches in memory, but locate will always use a pre-cached index, its own database.
So it's faster.
Much. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you update your index?
So generally Linux distributions configure it to auto update once a day. So so if you just install your stock Fedora or Ubuntu, you're going to get mlocate or slocate that'll run daily and update your index for you, and then locate will just work. So the trick is to find the package to install. Adam, what's the Fedora package?
I don't know, but I was going to say there's a command you can run update DB.
Update DB to do it manually.
Right now, you can...
Thank you. If you want to update it manually, you can do it update DB. Locate is like the command you'll run. I don't know, in Fedora, or in Ubuntu, if you don't have something installed, you say locate, and you're like, oh, you don't have locate, did you want to sudo apt-get install it right now? And so you run that command and it installs it. Yes?
You said, like, it retains an index. Like, if you have, like, millions of files on your computer.
Millions, yes.
Or just a lot.
Yes.
Is that going to, like, start affecting your memory negatively?
Okay, the question is locate's database going to be a problem for it's taking up the memory on your machine? Not until you get into some very large numbers of files. Probably nothing you're going to encounter on your desktop. Okay, all right, I'm going to keep rolling. Good questions, you guys. Thank you. So PV is totally fine. This is cool. So PV is short for pipe viewer, I believe. And we're going to copy files with progress. Quite simple. Just going to do an attempt. I don't want the 10 gig files. So let's quickly make a 10 gig file.
I use DD with PV.
No, this is better than DD even. I don't know why, but it's just awesome. Okay. Maybe because it's done. Okay. So PV, source file, dest file, and it's just going to show you the progress. So since it's going local to local, it's obviously quite fast at 200, 300 megs a second. ETA is kind of nice. Okay, cool, PV. So instead of CP, you can use PV. Different syntax, though, and not totally compatible. Yeah?
Can you use that with the DD command?
A PV with DD?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, so anywhere you can use Unix pipes, you can throw in PV. It's a little tricky to get used to, but you can get it in there. What? Where do I get PV? Great question. Depends on your distro. When I don't, okay, I'm gonna stay focused and say that PV or pipe viewer is the thing you're looking for, and then we'll work out a way to get. Yeah, it's really easy to find packages. Usually, yeah. Okay, so so this is kind of handy trick for network throughput. PV dev 0. See if this works. So it's just going. What I'm doing is I'm basically catting out of dev 0, which is just like give me dev 0 as fast as you can, and then pipe it. Pipe. Who's unfamiliar with pipe? Let's start there. Okay, I'm going to have to. Okay, so pipe sends the output of one command to the input of another. Okay, so most of the commands. Let's see. Yeah, almost every shell commands, the interface between shell commands is plain text. So you want to get plain text from one place to another, you use pipes. There are some commands that do output binary data, and so you got to send those right into files. But in general, your interface is plain text and you want to share it, send it along, and you can just add the number of filters you want. So what we're doing is spewing out dev0, and then we form a connection with our local, TCP connection with our local host that's encrypted, and then we're just doing the same thing on that end. We're not the same thing. Sorry. We're throwing whatever comes in, which is just a bunch of null characters. We're throwing that into the bit bucket. We're just discarding it. And then we're seeing how fast we can do it. 100 megs a second is my local network limit. So I think that's pretty bad. But whatever. Okay, cool. So anyway, you can do this. I mean, the point is, though, do that with a remote machine to see how fast your connection is. There's a ton of ways to measure your speedy remote connection, but that's kind of a fun one. Demonstrate speedy. So progress. I wish Rob were here because he really wanted to. He told me to do this one. So progress is fun. Instead of PV, where you have to manually get PV in your pipe, this one just detects interesting commands and monitors them. So check this out. Watch progress-w. So watch I showed you before. We're going to kick that off and just keep it going. So there's no output right now because there's nothing progress sees that's worth watching. But as soon as we go, nice, copy. I'm not going to cover nice right now, but anyway. Basically, it defers some of the CPU to other processes that need it. Okay, sorry, where's my file? Nice, copy, source file, there we go. Okay, so I'm going to kick off this command, and then progress will notice it pops up and start tracking it. Huh? Pretty cool? Anybody seen that before?
No.
Awesome! All right, everybody learned something new today.
Will that track only sub-processes under your user?
Probably. Actually, I don't know. The proc file system's pretty open. I bet you could see all the file descriptors. If you can't read a file descriptor size, then maybe not. No, it won't.
No, like if you're running DD as root, like if you're like writing to a disk or something, it won't see it.
Okay, so the question was, will that show you progress for processes that aren't yours? And it sounds like the answer is probably no. Okay, cool. So progress is sweet, and we'll keep going here. Okay, so I already showed you my top 10 frequently used commands. I made a program called CLI Top 10 that does that, but there was a meme going around for a while. I'm going to get rid of these line numbers. Is that a little easier to read? Okay. History. So this command, this bunch of commands right here, will show you your or your top 10 most frequent commands. Awk. Yeah, try and avoid awk if you can, but no, that's great. Yeah, and here's another version of the same thing. Again, all of my notes, you can cut and paste it later, try it, and if you think it's fun, you can. This is a great way to tell, like, okay, what do I need to automate? Well, maybe I'm running Docker commands directly too often, and I should be using kubectl more often or something like that. So it gives you an idea for what your behavior. So it's a good way to get some quick stats. Okay, so a few things from my bash RC. So I'm going to use that cd minus again to change back to the directory where it was, and it's going to print out the whole thing right there. Okay, cd I have overwritten to be this function. Oh, okay. So pretty simply, it's going to list to the directories. As soon as you change into directory, it lists. That's it. Don't type ls anymore. You don't have to. Huh? S is just short for cd ... Who has a cd ... alias?
Just
yeah.
dot.
Just dot. Oh, there you go. Dot. That's even better. I don't have to find the S key. Dot. I'm not going to change that. Okay, love it. mkcd, create a directory, immediately cd into it. Huh? Yeah. Right. VW, vim edit, any file in your path. So vim which. What's the progress? Was that one of them? Actually, progress is so this is, it's a binary, so it's going to show garbage, but it's going to find the file on my path and edit it. Let's do another one. VW CLI top 10. I don't even care where it is, but I'm going to edit it. So there's an extra trick I threw in there, right? How did I get bash? So usually you get bash completion for programs in your path like that. So I type out a first few characters and then I hit tab. But here I got that kind of completion for the argument of the VW command. Right? Did you guys get that? Yeah? So the trick there is VW comp. So this is bash completion is a little obscure, but if you want to just cut and paste something like this, you can name it your own thing. If your editor is Emacs, you can make it EW, and then you can automatically edit something while finding it from your path. Anyway, these kinds of layers, I use VW all the time now, but it takes quite a while to discover the layers of things you should automate, and something like CLI top 10 can help you figure out what to automate. Again. Okay, so P is just an alias for showing process table. P, what am I running? Python, probably? Python something. So it's like, okay, I'm running something with Python. That doesn't give me enough information, so PW will show me the entire thing. Python 2, uCompleteMe is a Vim plugin that always stays resident memory. So P and PW, again, are in my bash RC. I'm not going to belabor the functions one by one. When's the end time for this, by the way? Oh, sweet. Okay, I'm definitely getting to Hollywood. Okay. So you've seen Hollywood already. Yes! Oh, you guys are awesome. Okay, this is percall is a file picker. Lots of editors and IDEs have this built in. So, by the way, any function, I challenge you, any function you can find in an IDE, you can find similar automation in the command line. If not more crazy and powerful and customizable features. The IDEs are great because they give you a quick overview of what could you possibly do, right? Oh yeah, I didn't think about reformatting right here. So IDEs are great for showing you all that. But the command line is a interface that kind of is more likely to work for more people, I would say. So percall is going to work like this. Vim is my editor, so I'm going to start Vim, and in a subshell I'm going to run git ls files and pipe to percall. So percall, so basically I'm going to Vim some file. I'm going to edit some file, but I don't know which one yet. And to find the file, I'm going to use git ls files and pipe that to percall. So if we break it down, git ls files just lists every file under version control. And if we pipe that to percall, I'm going to skip a step so I can go right to Vim. But then we get a fuzzy matching file picker as it starts. So here are all the files that it finds in this Git repo. And then if I want to find files that contain RC and only RC, that do contain RC, then I can filter like that. That makes sense? So this is fuzzy matching and picking the files. But again, this isn't the most handy way to do it. I actually end up using a plugin that's inside of Vim already called Command T, I believe. Command T is going to do the exact same thing, but I'm already inside of Vim. So Control, thank you. Yeah, Control P for different editors. And in fact, I think maybe Sublime popularized it, and then the Vim folks came back and said, oh yeah, we can do that too. Don't worry. Okay, so any question about the fuzzy matching, picking files? You really shouldn't have to hunt for files in your projects. I mean, there should be something that'll help you find them very quickly. SL is just, my kids love this song.
ASCII art is not dead.
Okay, again, all right. So this is a steam locomotive. Here's the little version. So in case you're blind, it's showing a steam locomotive when I mistype ls. So SL, and then F is a flying. Oh yes. Okay. Okay, so dotop. Dotop is sweet, actually. I'll go into my personal Git repository for dotop. Dotop is disk usage. It's like the top disk users. And I've run this a bunch of times, so all these files are cached. But I can see which subdirectories use the most space listed by top offenders or whatever. There's a GUI that does this that I use a lot too, and there's GUIs on every OS or whatever. So, okay, this is really cool. Sure, it's got a pie and everything. But I can do it right here. And then I could use that output for something else. So, use your imagination. Okay, HTTP. I use this all the time as well. I got a bunch of files, and say I want to share one file with any one of you right now. I just say, oh, okay, I got an IP address. Here it is. Here's my IP address. I'm not even going to tell you my IP address, sorry. But then I open my firewall and I run an HTTP server, and then you can go right to it in your browser. So this would open up the files. Okay, so I'm in this .files directory and I run my HTTP command, and then it's going to allow you to just go to my IP address and grab any of these files from your web browser. Pretty cool, pretty quick. And let's see, I forget what HTTP is, so I'm just going to type. That's it. Make sense?
So you're basically hosting a server?
Yeah.
I thought mine was.
Okay, toilet. All right, we're getting to the good stuff. Let's see if I got LFNW banner. LFNW. Okay, so toilet is there was an old utility called banner, or I think it was just banner. Maybe some old timer can correct me, but somebody came along and decided that making banners in the command line was cool, and so this is toilet. It makes these. So I programmed that myself.
There's an Ubuntu logo package.
Ubuntu logo package?
Logo, and it has different pictures for different distros.
Okay, I'm told by our note taker James there is an Ubuntu package called
Ubuntu Logos.
Ubuntu Logos that does what?
It shows an ASCII art representation of different package graphics.
Okay, all right, we'll check out Ubuntu Logos.
Might just be with no dash.
Okay.
Or logo.
Yeah, okay, we'll find it later. Okay, so let's try Hollywood. Yes! Okay, this is going to probably F up everything. Do I have audio? No, audio is pretty key. Testing, mic check. This might be too obscene for this. Not obscene, but you'll see. Headphones. Okay. Oh, I'm scared. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, we don't have audio. So this is where
Wait.
Hold on, I got it. All right, so that's it. That's your Hollywood. Thank you. That is okay. Yeah, I'll send him a crash report.
Is that on GitHub?
Hollywood, I do not know. I can find it for you later. Okay, so here's something I just learned the other day. I feel like I should have learned a long time ago, but finding hosts on a local network is pretty sweet just for discovery, and probably don't do it here. I think it's maybe not the kindest thing to do. So I included the output for you. But Nmap is a super powerful, one of those Swiss Army chainsaws to tell you everything that's local. So I ran this command up here that's going to Nmap, probably network map is what it stands for, everything by scanning ports 22 and 3389. I think that's some popular Windows port. And then for everything in 192.168.11. And it's finding 1, 2, 3 hosts. The first one is called cz.nic, and it looks like, actually let me get this right. Anyway, one of those things is the host name. I think the host name is Tourist Ominous 7. There's the IP address. There's the ping latency between you and that box. There's its MAC address. And the Ethernet NIC looks like it was made by cz.nic. So kind of cool. You're on a network with a lot of people. You can find out what other people are running to some degree. Nmap is a very powerful tool used for a lot more than just scanning your network, penetration testing. Security gurus will tell you all about it. But this is all I use it for so far.
There's another one called MassScan.
Yes, MassScan. Oh, yikes. That, by the way, MassScan, MassScan, is my favorite README page on GitHub.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, question back there, Adam.
I was just going to say you should probably include a disclaimer, and whenever you talk about Nmap, using it on a network you don't administer is at least very rude and maybe illegal.
Okay, thank you. Great clarification, Adam. Adam W., thank you for reminding us that if you use, you have permission before you use Nmap on any network you don't own, because it is rude and maybe even illegal. Okay, but
it's a gray area.
There you go. All right, so maybe you've seen speedtest.net. There's one from the command line. You can just pip install it, and then you get, again, and probably another one I shouldn't run right now because it'll take up some bandwidth. I'll just start it, but it's going to tell you your ISP, your public-facing IP address, and then it's going to pick a server and do exactly what the speedtest.net Flash GUI does. But hey, I'm already on the command line. It's just running from there. And I'm going to kill it because I don't want to use up our bandwidth. So anyway, oh yeah, here's the example output of speedtest.
Question.
Yeah, question.
Does speedtest support IPv6?
Oh, don't know. Any other questions? Okay. All right, we'll keep rolling here. So Vim is my editor. There's plenty of good ones. Vim is programmable. Using a programmable editor it can be a good idea for a lot of reasons if you want to, if you need to customize stuff. And as a programmer, you often do. So odd though, I don't recommend Vim these days. And I think that's a bit of a test. If I disrecommend Vim and somebody ends up using it anyway, then I'm kind of curious of which direction they're going, and I want to talk with them a little more. So, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't. So anyway, let's jump into Vim real quick. So actually right here I'm using Vim. And as a text editor, you're only looking at text, but you can get a lot of additional information. And it's kind of fun, too, and they started adding Unicode characters to terminals, and so we get like, let's just go left to right here. So we get the mode, and Vim is a modal editor, so I'm in normal mode right now. It's showing information about the Git repository I have cloned right here, and I'm in this directory. So I have 0 added lines, 0 changed lines, and 0 subtracted lines. I'm in the branch master. The file I'm editing is demos.otl. This is the syntax of the file. Vim outliner is just trains it on how to highlight the syntax of this file, and also how to fold, actually. I'll get into folding a little later. But here you have, I'm 78% of the way through the file, which is about right on time. And I'm at line number 128, column 4. So a lot of information there again, really stuffed into a small space. Oh yeah, Control W. Okay, so if I edited my bash RC, dot files again. Okay, edit my bash RC here, and then I'm going to do :W, enter to save the file, and then this thing called Syntactic. Syntactic is going to show me the errors just like an IDE would, right in line. So here we have an editor, and if I scroll down with my arrow keys or HJKL right to the place of the error, the line of the error, then it's going to tell me that to double quote to prevent globbing and word splitting. I suppose of anything, oh, right here. So the column is highlighted, that $sign in front of path, and apparently I'm supposed to double quote that thing. And if I'm feeling lucky, I can try and debug this in real time, but let's see if that fixes it. Yeah, okay. So I added double quotes and then wrote the file to disk again, and then the syntactic error went away. And another sigil appeared, a tilde. I don't know if you, yes, thank you. That indicates that line is changed with respect to what's already committed into the local my Git clone. So you get an indication there. Questions about that? Okay, a lot of information there. All the Vim plugins I use, because there are quite a few, they're at the top of my Vim RC, but I'm not going to go over them in detail. But the plugins involved here are Syntactic and what's it called? Fugitive. Yeah. Fugitive, I guess. Okay, so a couple other quick Vim commands. I'm going to skip over, let's see, trailing white space save again. Okay, we're going to jump to multiple windows. So Vim, I end up using this, I think this is what made me pretty much stick with Vim is, I have one file open, and then I want to edit another. So I have my bash RC open, and I want to check my git config as well. So I do :sp for split. sp or spelled out split work equally well, and split the file git config in the current directory, and then you just see them both at once. You can cut and paste the two, switch up and down. Again, tons of editors have this feature, but you dream of a feature, and it's in Vim or Emacs or any programmable editor. Somebody's done it. But especially Vim and Emacs because they're so old. That's a good thing.
Older than Nano and Pico?
It's arguable. Vim, I don't know. Vi, probably. So anyway, there's multiple windows and a couple commands to maintain them a little bit. You can split, quit, :SP is split, :Q is quit. And again, for every kind of thing, there's 4 different keystrokes. You only have to worry about learning one of them. That's the one that works. That's the one you use. So :WQ as well. So I'm curious at this point, Wyatt, are you going to learn the command line a little bit? Typing? Don't mean to put you on the spot. Negative. Okay, we'll keep trying. There's more coming. Okay, we'll keep working on you, Wyatt. Okay, so how about folds? This is pretty awesome. So without any extra metadata, just the plain text in the file, you can show as much or as little of a particular file as you want quickly. So let's open my vimrc. Okay, vimrc is my config file for Vim. And I have these folds defined just with text. These funny little marks right here say, this is where you're going to fold if somebody has to fold. So I hit Z, capital M, and it's closing all my folds. And then I can see a quick overview of the file and all the sections. So I have 44 lines of initialization and plugins, 72 lines of general options, etc. So the file in total is 573 or more than 573 lines. But here I'm looking at it, a quick outline in just, 7 lines? And then I can jump into any one of these folds at once. So ZO is the Vim command to open a fold, and then ZC closes it. So again, these folds are defined just by adding these characters right here. So this says there's going to be a fold, and it's 1 deep. And there's some 2 deep folds in here somewhere, but I'm not going to search for them. ZM is fold. So Z capital R is open them all up. And Z capital M is close them all up. And ZO is just open one of them. Oh, okay, so here's the second level folds, right? So I got language-specific settings. I open that fold up, and I got 2 deeper folds here. So they get demarcated with the left curly, curly, curly 2. Okay, any questions there? Folds, Vim, cool. Command T is, I already showed you that. That's how you quickly search for a file. Okay, so here's another thing that kind of got me stuck on Vim was quickly shoving in chunks of text. So Sublime really popularized this, snippets. So let's get this running. So temp test.t. Text me, thank you. Appreciate it. Sublime's the new kid on the block. You're absolutely right. TextMate inspired Sublime to a large degree. Okay, so we are going to start a new HTML file from scratch. I hope, yes? Okay. So, and what you do here, this Vim plugin is called UltiSnips, and I'm using it in coordination with uCompleteMe. Both of them, you just install them, and they start working. There's not much else to do, and you get all of this. Okay, I'm going to type, so I'm editing an HTML file. Who knows HTML? A little bit, right? Okay, so you want to make it faster to edit HTML, you're going to need some shortcuts. So what kind of HTML am I editing? You just pick the kind you want. It's going to be an HTML5 file, and hit Control-J, and then you get a basic template out of the box. So it's going to throw right in there. And I hit Control-J again, so I'm editing the title of the page, Control-J again, and now I'm editing some of the headers. I don't have any headers to add, so I'm going to jump down to the body. I'm hitting Control-J to cycle. Again, I have these particular shortcuts listed, but there are you could use lots of different ones. So down in the body, I just want some lorem, some filler text, some boilerplate. So again, lorem, Control-J, shoves it in there. And I changed my mind. Let's do an unnumbered list, and I'm going to make a lot of items. So UL plus, and then again my same UltiSnips completion key. Okay. There. Control-J cycles to this next LI plus is there. It's just kind of this magic text, but when you go to complete it, it knows what to do. And that's it. And then when you're done, you just delete this line. You're done. So there you go, like a full HTML file in a few seconds, right? It's great for tests. Any programming language, Anything you're going to edit with plain text, you can use these same templates. They're super easy to make. You make, okay, a template for a Python file looks like this. There's a shebang line on top. I usually use a if name under name equals main, and then just boop, populate it, and then you can cycle through the parts you usually change. It's a great way to just get started with quick tests. Git gutter. So I showed you git gutter. Okay, let's have some more questions. So we'll hop into some more deep Q&A. So what other questions you guys got about the shell, or what do you want to see? What have I showed you have questions about? Wyatt, I'm looking at you. What's that? Directory size. What do you mean?
Well, I know
Okay. So the question is, how do I get the size of a directory tree recursively? Bry's smiling in the back. I think you've pretty much done this exact same talk a number of times. Let's say. Okay, Bry's my inspiration, by the way. All right, cool. I'm glad you did. Thank you. So I'd use DU for this.
Right.
Yeah. There you go. The end. Yes. Yeah, DU-H for human readable. S is summary, I believe. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Boy, a lot of these commands I use with a certain set of arguments. Just use them over and over, and
you forget what they do.
Thank you. Max depth to limit how far it's going to recurse if you got a really fat directory tree. Yep. Anything else? Okay, what other questions?
What's your favorite CLI hints book if you had to pick just one?
Ooh, one book. Yeah. Wait, did you write one?
Yeah. When I would have $2.
Was it Linux
to pick one.
I forgot what your book was called. It's not Linux Toys. Put me on the spot. I was asking for it. All right, what's your book called? Tell me again.
It's the whole Linux Toolbox series.
Linux Toolbox series, okay.
But I have to say, most of the stuff I showed today is, I would say, more advanced and cooler than things.
Thank you, Francois. That means a lot. Okay, so just to repeat the answer there, because I'm narcissistic. Francois says, most of what I showed today is more advanced than what's in his Linux Toolbox series of books for command line expertise. Yes, Adam?
I only have a simple question. Is there an XKCD comic about how long Vim users spend editing their Vim arsenal?
Okay, the question is from Adam, is there a XKCD comic about how long Vim users spend editing their Vim RC? And I think you just wrote one, but yes, actually, you quickly find that every one of these is a rabbit hole, which is part of the reason I do it. It's just I just get no end of fun. Most of the enjoyment I get about using the shell and command line based tools is finding what everybody else has already done, and it just works. You know, it's kind of like you're not buying products off the shelf; you're just grabbing them off this what was it? The collection of yurts and teepees and RVs, and they're just giving stuff away. It's more like Burning Man than Walmart or something. Yeah, in the back.
You discounted Glob, but I find it very useful for conditionals and loops.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so I did discount Glob as something I don't use often, but gentleman in the back says it's very useful for conditionals and loops, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, you're going to want to conditionally expand or get more detail here, just directories. And you'll see it pop up in other languages. Like I've seen it in Java, they use the / a lot to mean like go ahead and recurse and descend. So it's interesting. You know, you see stuff pop up in other languages, and if you have the shell background, it just your knowledge transfers right over. So that's part of why I say in the talk I'll just go right to what did I call it? Oh yeah, versatile future-proof computing environment, because it tends well to learning in a lot of different areas, a lot of different languages. Yeah, what else? More Q&A? Yeah.
You've got your environment highly customized with plugins and other configurations. What do you do if you were sitting down at a brand new machine and you didn't have all of your toolkit with you? Do you have a way to kind of port?
Yes. Okay, great question. I think I get the gist. So what do? I got all this customization, all this tweaking and stuff, my shell prompt. What do I do when I sit down at a new machine? How do I customize that one? Well, of course I've scripted it. So, but you don't have to, because people have done this so many times that there are tools on GitHub to say host your dot files for you and apply them and apply only certain ones to certain servers. So that's been totally automated. I did my own back in the day because I think before GitHub, I didn't know the best way to do that. I got tips from my coworkers and friends. But in short, I wrote a little thing. I don't think I have the make file in here, but I have a personal one that says, okay, I got a bunch. Mostly it's these .rc files that'll end up. So bash rc. Actually, wait, I got it right here. So in my README, my bash rc ends up as, So my bash rc ends up as ~/.bash rc, and I just wrote a little script saying, okay, you find a file, rename it to that file with .rc, with dot at the beginning, and put it in my home directory. So I just wrote, it was like a 4-line script with a little loop. So I scripted the setup of my environment. So yeah, I just pull in my bash rc, vimrc, and a few other files, and then run a bunch of sudo apt-get install commands, and in all of those, I just kind of add them to a script that gets bigger and bigger.
But you said that GitHub has sort of a mechanism to sort of be able to.
Yes, somebody's prepackaged something to maintain your dot files and your configuration, your OS setup for you. I mean, you could argue that something like Ansible could even be used for sure to like, oh, well, I don't just want to set up my bash rc, I want to add the packages I want, and so on and so forth. So, once you do like 2 or 3 machines, you start to, then okay, now I'm going to get the script. I don't know the one offhand. I can find it for you if you ping me. Brian?
So bash command line, when you do autocomplete and things like that, has 2 modes, Emacs and VI. You're a VI user, so why do you use the command line Emacs mode?
Dang.
You just hate yourself.
Very shrewd, Brian. Thank you. So the question is, why do I use Emacs style completion in the bash shell? Because it also offers VI style completion, and I'm a Vim user. I have no good answer for that. I think I learned bash first, and that was the default. And then I saw Vim auto completion, and it was so hard to change at that point. I changed my tool set very little at this point. I pick one little part of it to change. I think the most recent change was from GNU screen to tmux, and that was pretty painful. I'm still feeling the pain. But yeah, question back.
So you mentioned screen and tmux.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about them and like what your preferences are, what you find helpful
Sure.
about?
Okay, so the question is about screen and tmux, what my preferences are. So I know tmux very little. I have many years of experience with screen. So screen is what's called a terminal multiplexer. And in short, what that means is it's going to capture the pseudo terminal that lets you talk with your computer. So right now I'm talking directly to my computer on a pseudo terminal. Screen sits in between you and the command line, so you can do some pretty fancy stuff. So I start a screen, and then I get some information on the bottom. Okay, I'm in screen 0, zero-based index, of course. This is the name of my machine, hands. I'm at that machine, and then the date. And what I can do is start a command running in one window, and then I can Control-A-C to open another window, do another command, and my previous command is still running. And then I can do some more stuff, like detach. So this even works on a remote server. So I did Control-A-D, I detached from that terminal right there. It's still running in the background. It's holding onto the terminal. Other people can attach that terminal with me at the same time. We can program together that way, even remotely, again. I can open it in multiple terminals at once. Attach it there. The second attacher has to say -X, I believe. And so you can... my mouse doesn't work. Oh, let's see if I can move it this way. Yeah, here we go. So I'm doing both of the terminals at once. There you go. So that's screen. tmux does basically the same thing. tmux is newer. Screen's pretty much abandonware, I believe, at this point. I have a bug that I filed 13 years ago. What?
It's been revived again.
Oh, that's good news. Are they going to add more than 2 byte Unicode characters? Because that is my beef. Oh. Come on, Ryan.
But I switched to tmux because it had been abandoned a few years ago. And then
Here's my beef. Here's my beef with screen. Where's the poop? I don't know. So that's the problem with screen. Screen is they need to do some more. It needs some serious maintenance, and it's probably some KNRC from 30 years ago. Okay. Yeah. In fact.
during the demonstration, you use Git pretty much everywhere.
Git?
Yeah. Could you kind of just speak about what that is and
Oh yeah.
its function?
I'll give it a real quick overview as well. Yeah, absolutely. If you're editing plain text, be it source code, books, anything, you should version control your text. Version control means keeping track of every change you ever make. It's a lot less overhead than you'd think. As a programmer, as an author, as a lawyer, you need to do this. Because I'm a big proponent of trying to get lawyers to use plain text and source control because, oh my gosh, we could just find out who did what when programmatically. We could search, we could do all kinds of data analysis on it.
That's why they're opposed.
That's why they're opposed. I don't know if you've seen legal documents, but they're all in one document. There's crossouts, there's versions. The versions are all over there, and it becomes unreadable after a while. So the version control, in short, is kind of an indispensable programmer's tool. But it's spreading. GitHub's helping that a lot. GitHub's a proprietary version. There's a free version of GitHub called GitLab as well. It works fine. GitHub itself is very open culturally. Almost a lot of their stack is open, I believe. Yeah. Does that cover version control in general? You got to use version control. Git is a good one. Example commands of Git. I'm not going to dive into that too much right now. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have any toolkits we can find online and just plug them in and it works already?
Toolkits online to plug them in and it works already for this stuff.
Just like this.
Yeah, grab my. So the easiest way is grab my dot files and my vimrc. So and then you can start feeling the same pain I do every day. No, I'm just kidding. So then you can start using all the same commands I do. Hop on IRC, and then we'll share little snippets and stuff together and improve all those.
Stuff to search bash RC or
yeah. So usually the place to start is someone's RC file, and I saw PW and I want to use that. So you grab my RC file and you grab for PW in my bash RC. There it is. PW-A for, I don't know. There it is. Question earlier? Yeah.
Well, another question. As a statement to answer this gentleman's question about Git,
yeah.
There's a great tutorial on Bitbucket.
Yeah, so there's great tutorials for Git. There's one on Bitbucket. Yeah. Yeah, right in the middle.
Okay, so I have two actually. One
yeah.
Silly. Have you considered integrating LibCaca with toilet?
I believe someone's made that joke online, and I think the answer is yes. It's been done. So I'm not gonna entertain that question. Yeah.
So I'm kind of guilty of distro hopping. I'm guilty of distro hopping. I'm always changing.
You're guilty of distro hopping.
Experimenting and things, and I've noticed that one thing that is different in each distro is the way that .-rc, .-profile. How do you?
Man.
Setting yourself up.
You're talking about one of the last. So this is a tough question. Thank you. What is the relation between all these configuration files for Bash? There's tilde.bashrc, tilde.profile, tilde/.profile. There's etc bashrc. There's etc completion. There's a ton of them. Honestly, I know the bare minimum to get mine working, and I've been doing this for many years. I generally do everything in bashrc, and I don't use profile. But maybe Bri can answer some of these. You know, like some of them are used during login shells. It's quite complicated.
So honestly, what I did, because before we had all this automation to set your stuff up, I built one of my own. And the first thing it does is it removes all of those and symlinks them all to the same friggin' file.
Okay, so Bri's solution, if I could summarize, Bri's solution to the immensely complex configuration of Bash and its friends is to delete all the Bash configuration files, symlink them all to one, and then that's the master one he edits.
And it sets a variable. If it sees it's already set, it doesn't reprocess.
It sets a variable. It sees if it's already set. If it sees it's already set, it doesn't do anything. So it's idempotent as well. It's not going to redo this operation. And it's basically he wrote his own setup script as well. I would encourage you to look for. I believe it's just like search for dot files. We can find it right now if you want. But there's basically something online that manages all your dot files for you. Why don't we find it and share it and send it? Somebody send it to the mailing list, ListFest at Peak. Who's on the mailing list for LinuxFest? Oh, hop on the mailing list or IRC. Let's one of us do that. I'll do it if nobody else does. But we got to find the tools to edit your Bash RC and other RC files because it's a little more overhead at first to adopt a new tool, but then you'll never have to maintain your own stuff or maintain. Like a great example of somebody's built this now. Okay, here's a new tool I just started using that I would totally recommend. Who has like a ton of Git repositories and they kind of do operations on groups of them at once? Okay, great. Everybody. So what you do is get this thing called MyRepos. In Ubuntu, I think you'll type MR and it'll tell you what to install, but I think it's MyRepos if you can't find it. A little bit quieter in front, please. And then MR status will show you status for all the different Git checkouts you have all at once. If you have local branches, it's going to show you all those. If you want to update them all at once, you go update. And setup is super easy for this one as well. For setup, all you're going to do is go into each one of your Git clones and type mr register, and then any future mr commands will operate on all those at once. So at every job I've been to, there's like at least 4 Git repositories that make up the whole corpus of source code and build utilities and DevOps scripts and stuff like that. So super helpful to have something to tie them all together. MR is pretty sweet. What else? All right, so who's learned something new today? Hey, thanks guys. Thank you very much. This has been the Command Line Talk.